Hey, Bill Haney, happy Halloween. Love you so much. I got something to really scare you. Yes! Oh, yes! Yes! Yes!
Boxing commentary is down bad. Tim Bradley, in a recent podcast, says Devin Haney would have beat Ryan Garcia if he just would have kept his right hand up during their fight April 20th. Tim Bradley believes that Haney should have tried to box Ryan. Bradley says, and I quote, "All Devin had to do was hold the phone. He was winning most of the fight. He was winning most of the exchanges in the fight. He was jabbing, he was moving, looking good, but he kept dropping that right hand. Ryan is extremely gifted at shooting that left hook. He shoots it out of nowhere. It's automatic for him. Obviously, Devin Haney didn't train for it. If he would have kept that backhand up, he would have won the fight. He was outboxing him in spots where he wouldn't get caught or get knocked down. Devin was like, I'm going to fight him rather than box him. He should have just boxed him. Keep his wits, stay out of his emotions. I was thinking, why is this dude standing in front of this puncher? He needs to move. He didn't need to step to this dude, use his legs, and set him up. Ryan didn't have to drain himself down those last 3 pounds, and I feel that was an advantage he had over Haney in the fight. He was fully strong. He didn't deplete his body like Devin Haney did," end quote. Like I said at the beginning, boxing commentary is suffering. I can't leave boxing alone. The game needs me. This is why you guys come to me, Boxing Ego, the king of boxing talk. Tim Bradley, I pretty much disagree with most of what he said. Now, I don't just think of problems. I come with solutions. And I'm going to explain my stance and why this is just bad commentary to me from Tim Bradley. There's an old saying, if my aunt had balls, then she'd be my uncle. That saying applies to what Tim Bradley is saying, right? He's saying, if Devin did this, then this would have been the outcome. Life doesn't work like that, right? Where you have a set of obstacles in front of you. You have choices. I believe everybody has choices. And depending on what you choose determines where you end up. So who are we, not being God, not being almighty overseers, who are we to suggest had X, Y, and Z happen, a whole bunch of that didn't happen? You know, if these strings of things would have happened, then this would have been the outcome. I've always hated this approach in boxing, and you hear it. It's a lot of times from poor sports. People who got their predictions wrong, people who bet money and lost big, you know, things like that, where it's like, oh, but he was winning the fight. That's why you have 12 rounds. Nobody cares about, oh, he was winning the fight, right? That means jack, because we've seen fights like Mickey Bay versus John Molina. He was winning the whole fight, but made a mistake in the 12th round, and John Molina, being a power puncher, knocked him out. You know, you got fights with Julio Cesar Chavez, and I could do this all day because I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. Julio Cesar Chavez and Meldrick Taylor winning the fight, loses the fight basically in the last stanza, last 10 seconds of the fight. Some even dispute if it should have been stopped, but nonetheless, the history books show Chavez Sr., he won it, right? So Tim Bradley to say like, oh, if Devin would have done all this, like, that's why styles make fights. And I often hear this in people's fight predictions, right? They'll be like, oh, Anthony Joshua could beat Daniel Dubois. He just got to do X, Y, Z and X, Y, and Z. But the thing is, can he do X, Y, and Z? Because Joshua appears to be kind of stiff. When the going gets tough, he mentally breaks down. When he's hurt, he almost like shows it and wears it on his face. You can't instill the attributes that you want. Like, you can't give Joshua a poker face if when he gets hurt, it's very apparent. which it is when Anthony Joshua does get hurt in fights, right? He has like this cringing look on his face. He's reeling back. He does weird things like stick his tongue out when he's clearly getting battered. Like, why would you stick your tongue out? You're not in control. It's not fooling anybody, etc. So I see this all the time, this type of commentary where people, it's like they try to, it's like a fantasy land type of boxing commentary. Some things are what they are. Ryan is incredibly strong with the left hook. That's his signature punch. You have to prepare for that. If you chose to fight how you chose to fight, that's on you, you know? So it's just, I feel like when I speak, and this is, as long as I do this, I want my words to actually mean something. There's a lot of boxing commentary and it's just words put together. It doesn't really mean nothing. It's like, shouldn't even be a dialogue. Oh, Devin, he just needed to do this and this. He didn't. That's the reality of it. And people get mad at me because I'm blunt, I'm brash, my big mouth. I can't help it. I speak from the heart. I'm real. My big mouth. I'm telling you what I seen. And it's easy for you to say at home, like, oh, he should have just kept his hand on at the temple. He should have held the phone and all this type of stuff. He didn't. And to be honest, I think more conversations need to be had for why didn't he? You know, Devin is considered he was considered like a rising top talent. Some people even were likening him to the new generation Mayweather. You got to ask your question. Ryan seemed like he was bad cardioed and bad condition. Why didn't he do these things? I think that's a far more reasonable conversation, because why didn't he? You could pose, you know, it's a better conversation than coulda, shoulda, woulda. If he woulda did this, then this would have been the result. I mean, you could say that for any fight. If Dominic Brazil didn't get his brains knocked out by Wilder, he would have won over the stretch because he's a better boxer. Like, I mean, it just sounds stupid. And to me, I think this is it hurts boxing, right? I seen this with another big fight back in the day, was Amir Khan versus Danny Garcia. I was doing my commentary like, bravo. I actually picked Danny Garcia, let the record show. Most people back then were picking Amir Khan. They're like, Danny sucks, he's way too slow, blah, blah, blah. Once again, your boy Ego Stradamus was right. Danny Garcia knocks out Amir Khan, which I knew was going to happen. Shout out to Philly, right? And people were trying to reshape the conversation, and they were saying stuff like, oh, but Amir Khan was winning the first 2 rounds. He was winning until I mean, that's anybody in any fight. They were winning until they weren't. You know what I mean? There's a lot of fights like that where, you know, oh, Pacquiao was starting to take the lead, and then what? And then Marquez timed him, knew him, rockabye baby, and planted his feet and threw that right, and then Pacquiao face planted in the MGM floor. That's what happened. So I don't prefer commentary like what I'm hearing from Tim Bradley. It's just a lot of coulda, shoulda, woulda. I don't live in a coulda, shoulda, woulda world. Devin Haney didn't do these things. In a rematch, he has an opportunity to fix it, but you got to question, why was he even fighting how Bradley is saying he was fighting, aggressively? For me, if I had to psychoanalyze the reason, I would suggest it's because he got clipped in the first round. There was a lot of emotions. Ryan was acting bizarre in the buildup. There was a lot of emotions going into this fight. Devin didn't control his emotions, in my opinion, and he took the rage. He had a lot of pressure from his dad, fighting the center of the ring, and my son Devin is gonna knock out Ryan and all this type of stuff. And then when he got clipped and hurt and the world seen it, then he went into fight or flight mode. That increased his adrenaline, and then he tried to walk Ryan Garcia down. I think it's also worth noting, since people are doing coulda, shoulda, woulda conversations, in my honest opinion, if we're going that route, I think this was the worst cardioed, the worst conditioned Ryan Garcia that I had seen. So had Ryan been in far better shape, I think he stops Devin Haney on April 20th. It's actually a good thing that for Devin, that Ryan probably was not at 100% because he looked like he was gassed after throwing sets. After he throw combinations, Ryan Garcia appeared to be just like lacking energy, and he almost had to recharge. And he kept doing this start, stop, start. It's like freeway traffic, start and stop and go, stop and go. And he did that through pretty much the entirety of the fight. And people keep saying, oh, but Devin was winning. And Devin was doing good in spots where Ryan had to recharge. And in those spots, I don't think either guy was looking spectacular, right? Ryan was doing weird stuff, turning his back. It was making it kind of hard for Devin to even reach him in spots. You know, Devin landed some shots, but all in all, it's not what people are saying. Church.